Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. Please be advised that today's meeting is being recorded and streamed on a publicly accessible website. Please respect social distancing. Council and CAO additions. Are there any additions?
Yeah, Mayor, I have just two additions. One, just to do a quick update to council on the regional campgrounds and what we're doing, and additionally, just an update also on the river access for regional council.
Thank you.
I've got a report I'd like to give at the end.
Well, can I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Moved by Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Souls. All those in favor? Carried. Adoption of the minutes of the special regional council meeting of April 14th, 2020. Can I have a motion, please, to accept the minutes? Moved by Councillor Penny, seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried. Business arising, outstanding items, reduction of frequency of special regional council meetings. Mr. Barry, do you want to speak to this?
Sure. We, based on the request of council at the last meeting, we put this on the agenda for council's discussion. It might be an opportunity where council wishes to reduce the meetings that we currently have, which is of course twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays, to anything of council's choice, of course, which could be, for example, one a week. We do have the ability, of course, to pull meetings together as required if needed. If council did look at doing something around doing one a week, the date that we tossed around internally from a process perspective would be potentially maybe a Tuesday. Gives staff the opportunity to have the agenda prepped and ready and published on Friday prior to the weekend, so council can review an agenda over the weekend and be ready for Tuesday. And then additionally gives us an opportunity as a staff that week then to do a follow-up meeting on the discussion on Wednesday to review any actions of council and to work on any of the actions or rest of council. So it's for council discussion.
Does anyone have any comments? Tuesday afternoon is probably my preference, and once a week. Does anybody have any other comments?
I was just wanting to discuss whether is it still necessary to be meeting once a week? Is it adding to the staff workload, having to prepare an agenda and everything once a week? Like, could it be time to transition back to our every other Monday, and then if we need to share information, we call in a weekly meeting? Like, I don't know that there's that much more that is dealt with on that requires such a quick response time. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just want to talk about that.
Mr. Barry, how is the staff time with regards to preparing an agenda once a week versus once every second week?
Well, obviously if it's once a week versus every second week, it's a double up of agendas. Currently, based on the amount of information that's coming through and some of the activities that we have in the next coming weeks, or a couple of weeks anyway, it would possibly make sense to continue with once a week. It actually helps us from preparing the agenda to split up some of the items a little bit. And of course, we've got the tax bylaw coming up down the road. We got next Tuesday, the Tuesday the 12th. Sorry, the financial statements are planned with Mr. Albone. So it might be more of a transition piece if we went from 2 weeks down to one, and then we would reevaluate after that. And of course, typically when we go into the summer months, we go into one a month. But given that it's a potential that we might expect we continue to get communication from the province, which we could, as Councillor Goering mentioned, we could continue to communicate that to council, but currently one a week wouldn't be that demanding, especially considering the meetings are at noon. It allows the staff to, from where we have people dispersed to the EOC, to manage that a little more efficiently than if we were to have your typical Monday evening one at 6:30. So it's at this point, the one a week isn't super demanding.
Any other comments on this? Councillor Roper.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see one a week. I think we're going to be getting a lot of information, especially as BC starts to have their soft opening. So I'd be okay with one a week. Tuesday's good, and then we can discuss it. Once things start to go back to normal.
Okay, are there any other comments? Very well. Do you need a motion for that?
Yes, Mayor, we have one motion.
Very well. I'll ask for a motion then that we continue with once a week meetings on Tuesday afternoon. Oh, Councillor Souls. Okay, you're moving that motion? All right. Moved by Councillor Souls, seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Once a week on Tuesdays. Proclamations. Hospice Awareness Month, May 2020. Hospice Awareness Month is focused on raising awareness of community involvement and recognizing that everyone should have access to quality end-of-life care. And whereas the Fort Nelson Hospice Society is comprised of many volunteers who provide direct and indirect care services to individuals living within the Northern Rockies, and whereas member organizations collectively reflect the entire hospice continuum for patients who are facing end of life and are living with in their community to those who are in hospital. And whereas the Fort Nelson Hospice Society seeks to ensure that hospice clients and their families are integrated and receive quality care, and believes that this can be achieved through commitment, awareness, and partnership. And whereas Fort Nelson Hospice Society offers grief support for, during, and after care to family and friends, I, Gary Foster, Mayor of the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality, do hereby proclaim May 20th as Hospice Awareness Month in the Northern Rockies Municipality. Budget 2020. Summary Budget Review, Tab 1, Net Tax Requirements.
Thank you, Mayor. So after reviewing, or after council had an opportunity to go through the departments individually and approve the various budgets, the updated amended document you have in front of you is basically the summary of the amendments. So originally the budget that was proposed to council as part of the budget binder showed a $108,000 reduction in the tax levy compared to last year's 2019 budget, with the various amendments, which included revenue changes, of course. And everyone has this document in front of them here. So just to quickly run through, basically from the planning and development side, there were some differences in flow throughs with the building facade program, the NDIT intern program, and an intern revenue. The operational costs of the rec center showed $181,000 expense reduction, with the rec center at this point scheduled to be closed until May 15th. Which obviously is a moving target, but based on the numbers you see, it's a closure till May 15th. The revenue reductions that are impacted as a result of the closure of the rec center are $61,000. So that's $61,000 less revenue. A reduction of the budget for the Peace of the Arts Council by $1,500. The reduction by the Fort Nelson Library of $5,400. And then additional reductions in revenues of $65,000 at the airport. Show a total reduction in tax levy compared to last year of $161,000. And the airport reductions are related to the lease rates that council has reduced out there from waiving the lease rates for those couple of months, and additionally CMA's landing fees also impact that number also, because CMA of course currently isn't operating, so those landing fees impact that number by, I believe the number was $50,000 I think, and Tony can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. So any questions regarding regarding that?
Councilors? Mr. Penny, no?
So based on those numbers, a required tax levy this year of approximately, or since approximately based on those numbers, the budget, the required tax levy is $21,245,829. if you look at your sample properties, you may have noticed, if you really looked at them closely, the sample properties that were in the original preliminary budget document compared to what we see today, there's a little bit of a shift in assessment. So this document, the sample properties show the completed roll. So the completed assessment, which you receive in usually at the very beginning of the year. Since then, we have received the revised roll. Typically, we don't have the revised roll when council approves a budget, but because this year the budget approval is later than typical, much later than typical, we actually have the revised roll, and that revised roll that we get from BC Assessment has some shifts in the assessment. So you will see some shifts in that sample property, and then not any big shifts. It's a shifts within it. So if you were to look at it, you'll see that that's the case. And that's I'll leave it for council discussion and any questions you may have. And then after that, if council's okay, then just look for a resolution to approve the overall budget.
Are there any questions on the net tax requirement? Very well. Hearing none, I'll ask for a resolution then to accept the net tax requirements, $21,299,145. Moved by Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor?
Sorry, Mayor, the number is 21,245,829.
Sorry, okay.
What's that? Okay, it's the old one, yeah.
Are we good, or we want 245?
So right here, the number at the bottom of this large document, which would be 21,245,829.
There it is.
Can we get a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Councillor Dolan, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All those in favor? Carried. Reports, bylaws, administration report number 30. EOC update and donations from North River Midstream.
I can take this one, Mayor.
Mrs. Laval, please.
So we received a check from North River Midstream in the amount of $5,000. They have presented it to us to put towards COVID-19 community efforts. So Krista Vandersteen and Krista Pearson put together a small report just to identify some potential projects that could be worthy of some financial assistance. They're also pursuing grants for many of the programs that we're doing to sort of to help the residents and the community effort. But as you can see, they've identified 4 programs: the Plant the Seed Project, grocery delivery for seniors and vulnerable persons, a DIY mask campaign, and virtual community programming.
Are there any comments, councillors? Very well. Our thanks go out to North River Midstream for making this generous donation of $5,000. Administration report number 31. Oh, do you need a motion?
Yes, I do, sir.
Very well. Motion to accept the $5,000 from Midstream, please. Moved by Councillor Penny. Second by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried. Admin report number 31, cost analysis, pound keeping services, and Takashi Animal Rescue Society.
So the report is a result of a request from council at a past council meeting, basically summarizing. I think the question asked was whether the municipality had saved any funds as a result of Takashi's operation. And while we can't conclusively say that the NRM has saved money because we've never paid beyond the minimum monthly contract fee in the 10 years that we've had the contract, from a, I guess, health and welfare of animals perspective, there has been a decline in the number of animals euthanized at the pound as a result, or since Takashi's was established. And you'll see as well that the number, at least in the past 2 years, has significantly reduced from 10 years prior. So there's been a few different changes in how we administer the animal control bylaw and the pound keeping services in relation to that. But nonetheless, I think you can conclude that Takashi's has provided a wonderful service to the community, and animals have been better off as a result. So.
Excellent. I have a question. With the reduction, do we still need the pound service?
The pound service gives us the ability to house animals, typically, obviously, dogs and cats when the animal control officer picks them up. So that's the big reason for needing the pound, because Takashi isn't necessarily set up just for a drop-off perspective, right? So at any given time during the week, if an animal is picked up, the pound, if that's where the animals are dropped off and housed. And at this point, I'm not aware that Takashi, for example, would have the ability to do that. So that's one of the major reasons. And of course, if there is no other option for the animal, then unfortunately, then the pound would be the ones that would be looking after. You would look after euthanizing the animal.
We also have a contract in place to 2023 for the pound service.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions? Very well. Yeah, I don't think we need a motion on that. Admin report number 32, outdoor theater request.
I'm going to step out. I have a contract with the society, so I'm going to declare a conflict.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Roper. Mr. Woodland, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, I would, Mayor Foster. With the report, there has been some new information come forward. The outline by the Phoenix Theater Society had said they had wanted to try to seal the wall and remove the concrete grooves where the cinder blocks were. They tried a small patch just the other day or maybe a day ago, and that did not work. So they won't be able to proceed with that part of the screen. But what the next idea they have thought of to do is to apply 1/2-inch plywood to the wall in the same area, closing the seams with a sealant to be able to paint the mural over the plywood instead of directly to the concrete. So it won't be directly on the concrete. It would be over a plywood, 1/2-inch plywood applied to the building.
I had some questions about the blocking of the vents in that area.
Okay, sorry, Mayor Streeper. Those vents are from the old hotel and we never removed them. Sorry.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
So the dryers would have been, I don't know, 30 years ago or so.
Okay, so those were for dryers. I didn't know if they were vents for bathrooms, and I was wondering how we were going to reroute them. I see that there is a cost for the municipality for doing this.
For the lights, there is a cost of $1,500 for materials and for labor. Of course, once we get that key, that means I can turn off even more lights as I travel around town. So I'm sure we'll get the money back sooner or later.
Go ahead.
Sorry. And for the, I don't mean to make it funny, but I do. I turn off lights everywhere I go. And for the graveling aspect, that is stuff we normally do in different areas anyway, and I think we're probably due to have some gravel work done out in that area. So it's a part of our normal maintenance we would do on parking lots. So it's not like the cost we would incur just frivolously. It's something that we would do not only for the theater, but it also services the play school and the clubhouse for the mental health clubhouse.
I noticed there was some costs here for the municipality, which were fairly small. I think $1,300 was part of the labor to do some relocation and so on. Usually it is the responsibility of the tenant for leasehold improvements. Is there more opportunity here for the theater to pay for some of the electrical work, et cetera, et cetera?
That would be coming out of the theater's budget anyway, because
okay.
I look after a part of the budget for the theater. So the electrical would come directly from there. The labor would directly come from that codes as well.
Okay.
You wouldn't see an additional cost outside of what we normally do anyway.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Gerwin.
I have two questions. So the 1/2-inch plywood on the wall would that stand up? Because how would we protect that? Is it weather protected or?
Well, the plywood, the exterior rating on that is the same as when you put it on a house or anything else. Plus, it's going to be sealed. So the longevity on that would be quite a long time. Plus, if one piece, you can take that 4x8 piece out and just replace it with a new piece, paint over it, and ultimately it would make it easier to do the upkeep on that down the road, I would think.
Okay, and then my second question was just to confirm that whatever the costs are to create the outdoor screen, the Phoenix Theater Society is managing those costs. That's not going to be on the municipality. Is that
Correct,
accurate?
Councillor Gerwing. That is correct. The only cost to us would be that $1,300, which is electrical parts and labor included, and the up to $1,000 for the graveling of the parking lot. All other costs are bared by the Society for the Phoenix Theater.
Any other questions, councillors?
I had a question there. Just why was it decided that plywood would make a better, just a better background than the concrete itself, the cinder blocks? If they had a layer of high gloss white paint put on the cinder blocks themselves, the cracks would disappear anyway. From a long distance, a large picture projected on that wall, I can't see the benefit of all that plywood for what. Anyway, that's just
Councillor Souls, I'm not quite sure. I know they were concerned about the surrounding area around each 8x8 cinder block, and for whatever that was, whether it's the depth of those indents inside the blocks, including the integrity of the picture, I am not sure. I'm not
yeah.
That would be well informed on that, but I
just know a
it,
layer of paint is a lot cheaper than a layer of plywood.
you are correct.
I think what they were looking for was a very smooth surface, and the bumpy texture of the cinder blocks was going to cause some problems. They also had a special paint that they were going to apply, which was a paint specially made for images. So whatever the reason for that is, I'm not sure, but
That's correct.
very well. Can I get a motion then, if there's no more questions?
I would make that motion.
Moved by Councillor Gerwing, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All those in favor? Carried. Additions to the agenda, Mr. Berry.
Just
No,
1
we're just
minute.
gonna wait to get Miss Councillor Roper back into the waiting room, yes. And I can speak to the additions, sir.
Councillor Andrews.
I was sorry, when I was looking at, just back at administration report number 30, with the donation from North River, it had some recommendations in there. I know we accepted the money, but was staff looking for more of a direction on where that money to go?
Yes, Councillor Andrews, we had two recommendations. One, the first one was that the money be used towards supporting community vitality and food security. And the second option was that it be used for another activity as determined by council.
Okay, so with us just accepting the money, are you able to make that decision, or are you hoping for council to make this decision?
If we could have a resolution in support of perhaps recommendation 1 or recommendation 2, that would be helpful.
Okay, well, I would make a recommendation for recommendation number 1. I'd make a motion.
I'd second that.
Moved by Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Penny. All those in favor? Carried. Mr. Berry, additions to the agenda. Update on campgrounds.
So just wanted to give council just a quick update. We are working in the background, of course, to provide a report back to council regarding some options and potential plans based on council's direction earlier this week regarding the potential opening of the regional campgrounds. So we're hoping to, we will not have a report ready by the end of the day today, of course, for Tuesday's meeting. If we have the ability to have something to be added as a DAM, even for discussion for council, we'll have that for next week. So we're just lots of information still. We're still gathering lots of information regarding what we can and can't do and how to do it from the province and the various different agencies. One interesting note that I just want to communicate to council is that the campground is considered a space, and as such, we are only limited at this point based on the existing restrictions that are out there, that we're only allowed to have a limit of 50 people at any given time in a campground. So which creates some potential challenges from a administration and enforcement side, but we're working through that currently as part of the report and working with the local health officer with regards to that. Just a note, we're currently contacting the reservation holders for May Long Weekend for Tetz River based on the existing reservations and the existing restrictions. So if Tetz were to open, we would need to cancel some of the existing reservations based on the fact that the numbers based on the current reservations and individuals or people within those each reservation has put us over the 50 person limit. So we're working through that. We just wanted to give council a bit of an update that we are working on it. And if there's any questions, I mean, you can ask now. If I have an answer, I can provide it. But
I have a question regarding that. How come? Let's redefine what a space is. If a space is that restricted, that's a park, limits us to 50 people that come on. How do we redefine what we are?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to add to that as well. I mean, we'd be restricted in many of our areas of community right now. I mean, no different than, say, Kalani Trailer Park out there. How do we restrict that? I mean, if there's some way to rezone that space, that each individual lot is a space instead of the whole park.
I don't have the specific order in front of me. We will provide that for council as part of the report. But generally, what the restriction or the directive from the province, the order from the province is fairly clear, and it actually outlines campgrounds as a space, and us as an owner or occupier of that space, then we're limited within that. The order says 50 people, and when we did question it, they provided us the order and then confirmed that the campground is considered a single space. That could very well change, but this is just based on the information that we currently have. So we are working through that, and like I said, we get a couple of answers and have more questions, and which creates more questions, and at times, which has been the norm lately with this whole process with the pandemic, is when we ask certain questions, it takes a while to get the answers back because clarification is required. And even locally, when we ask if it's the local health officer, Bob's doing lots to assist us, but sometimes he needs to get clarification himself. So we're hoping to have more information on that, but based on what we currently know and the communication we received back from the province this week after we reached out to them a number of times, that's what we know so far. So.
Any other questions, Councillor? Councillor Gerwin.
Mr. Berry, I didn't hear at the beginning, did you say that we will be getting a report next week or we won't be?
The intent is to get one, obviously with council's decision to go to 1 a week. The intent will be we won't be receiving. We don't have the report ready for the for when the agenda gets published today. If we have something ready prior to Tuesday, we provide it to council, even if it's a discussion with council and a decision on a later date. As soon as we have that report ready, we'll provide it to council for information anyway, and then if need be, we need to put a quick meeting together to discuss this, specifically considering that time is of the essence with May Long Weekend around the corner as an example. We'll do that. So stay tuned. Just right now, we still have a lot of questions that we don't have answered, and logistics that depend on answers before we can actually outline what those logistics look like. So the quick answers, we will be providing a report, just don't have a firm date, and we can get that to you yet based on what we know today.
Any other questions?
So I have one question regarding
Councillor Souls.
the issue with space, once again, TETSA, of course, is under our purview, and that's, if it's defined as a space that requires those limitations, that's what we get. How about the fact that many of our local campers go to other places that are not part of our park, such as up by the Toad River, and there's usually quite a camping city there on the May long weekend with lots and lots of people. It's not a designated space. So what's the story on that? Or do we leave that for the province to police if there's too many people there? Or do we make some kind of a recommendation that our people just kind of space themselves?
The provincial,
quite a few there.
yeah, and the again, more questions at times than answers, unfortunately. When we ask certain questions, it takes some time to get the clarification when it works its way through the proper channels. Based on what we know is as an occupier or an owner of the campground, we are required to maintain the restrictions or to enforce the restrictions that apply to us based on the order. Individuals or campers, families have the ability to camp in Crown land, and interestingly enough, there's no specific order in terms of families or social distancing per se. How the province would look at enforcing a group of campers together if they were to be over that amount is left to be seen. I mean, when you talk to the various agencies or enforcement agencies, they at times don't necessarily have the answers or even are unsure of what that approach would be. So it's a very good question and one that we really don't have the answer for in regards to that particular space. If it's Crown land, I guess if you're over 50 in that area, I'm not quite sure how the province would deal with that, to be honest with you. And I don't know from local enforcement agencies, i.e. the RCMP, if they actually have any specific direction on how to either. And I couldn't speak for them.
So,
Councillor Goodwin.
confirm for me the Toad River boat launch area, the new one that they just created, that's so wonderful. Is it the boat launch, Kyle? Is it? Yeah. So is that on Crown land then?
That would actually be a designated rec site. I'd have to go in and see which list of, I'd have to go to see if it's actually hit the list of areas that's been closed. The typical direction that's occurred from the province is any rec sites that have camping facilities attached to them are closed. Any rec sites that don't have camping facilities attached are not. So that particular area does have camping facilities attached, but I have to go in to take a look. There is a list on the provincial website that outlines which areas are closed and which areas are not. For example, it shows that the Cleator boat landing is closed, Beaver Lake is closed, but Parker Lake is open, and the list of those sites are on there. I haven't looked specifically for the Toad site being the new rec site where the boat launch is.
Councillor Andrews.
Just from what I've looked into, you can't camp at Toad right now. Just from my interpretation of it.
Councillor Goodwin.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So just to follow up then, Mr. Berry, can we get that information posted on our website so that residents can access that in one spot?
We'll provide the link for that area.
Okay, because people are getting ready, right?
That's correct.
Well, the point that I wanted to make, I would want to push it further, but if we're in a position where we now, because the TETSA and Andy Bailey are under our jurisdiction as far as camping goes, if we would be in a position to have to say to some of our reservations that you can't go there anymore, what kind of recommendations would you as a council, would me as a council want to give those people? And I say that there's a big world out there within our municipality, and there's lots of places to go camping. Thing is that should be fair for us to say that. It should be fair for us to promote our region as a place to go and camp outside of the parks in the Crown land. And so I just want to make a statement that I'm in favor of that kind of a thing, because we don't want to just be calling our residents and saying, oh yeah, well, there's too many of you to fit in TETSA, so I guess you're going to have to just do something else, but not give them any, like, not come across as cold, but come across as actually still inviting in our region. That's how
And I
I'd
think
like to see it.
another important
Councillor Doing, go ahead.
another important piece to that, Councillor Souls, is what do the residents of Toad River, how do they feel about it? Like, you know, they might have feelings of their own that they don't want people going in there, or they might be all over it. I don't know. So if anybody has been checking with anybody there that can perhaps share that information, that would be good to have.
Right.
I think these are all good things for administration to navigate while they are bringing us that report. Mrs. McIver.
I just think it bears reminder that we have a number of private campground operators up highway as well. And from what we understand, most of them plan to operate, of course, under the restrictions, but it may create a new opportunity for those private operators to receive camping customers that they may not have in other years. So I think just highlighting some of those that are operating their businesses in that way might also be a good kind of information piece for residents too.
Agreed, for sure.
Any other comments? Very well, I'll move on. Mr. Berry, regarding the river.
It's an update on the river. Thank you, Mayor. So the river access for vehicle access is still restricted. The various agencies met yesterday afternoon and discussed some potential to look at the potential to open up that access. We did receive some information yesterday afternoon, and then subsequently some aerial photos this morning. The information from the Water Management Branch of the River Forecast Center outlined that there's a forecast over the next 7 to 10 days that would expect more ice breakup to occur. Based on the aerial photos, there's still a significant amount of ice up the Muskwa River. And as the weather warms, obviously we'll see that ice melt, but there's a potential for jamming. Currently, the monitoring stations indicate that the river levels obviously are quite low. The Muskwa River level is quite low. But with the expectation that with the warmer temperatures, the level is going to increase and have the potential that this ice could let go also. It was commented to by the forecast center that, this is, not just here, it's an unprecedented year this year for ice jams, and as we're seeing in flooding down south in Alberta, of course, Fort McMurray is an example of what's occurring there at the Athabasca River. So, the current conditions and what they're seeing are a bit of an anomaly. So still some concerns from a public safety perspective. Additionally, the various emergency services agencies are continuing to conduct activities at the river. For our Fort Nelson or Northern Rockies Fire Rescue were attended the river last night to secure the vehicle. Actually got the vehicle that was removed yesterday evening. Conducted some more search efforts in conjunction with the RCMP. And the RCMP, along with search and rescue, are also are coordinating efforts today. So that's also occurring, and it's important that the area is not to reduce access for the general public also in that respect in terms of conducting those activities. So there's the likelihood of the access being opened up for vehicle access this weekend is most likely not going to occur. And again, be reevaluated again early next week when we have an opportunity to meet with the various agencies again. So just want to update council on that. And we have, I've reached out to the Riverboat Association also just to communicate with them regarding what's occurring, so they're aware of what we're doing also with the various agencies and staying on top of it, so that when the ability to provide access based on, again, it sits in FLNRO's jurisdiction, but when the ability or opportunity is at the earliest and public safety is not a concern, then the access will be open up to that area, those areas.
Any questions on the river? Very well, I'll move on. Councillor Penny, you had an addition?
Yes, sorry about that. I attended the golf course meeting last night. Finally, I managed to get to one. Sorry it's taking so long. But I just wanted to pass along how impressed I was with the club, with their attention to detail for making all attempts to follow all the guidelines to protect staff and customers alike that are going to be attending the golf course. They expect to be ready to open by the end of next week. They haven't announced an actual opening date as of yet, but quite a few things that they've taken into account. They're going to modify the driving range in a way to allow social distancing, change their routine for collecting and washing the balls. They're changing some cart rental agreements there to allow proper cleaning in between uses. But the two biggest things I took away from that meeting last night was their attention to detail for safety, as I said, for customers and for staff, and their cost savings. Every step of the way, they were concerning themselves with saving costs to make sure that they stay within or come under budget for this year, because their expected revenues, as of right now, I mean, they expect them to be decreased, but hoping that they won't be, but they're planning for the worst. And every little detail of the golf course was being talked about last night and how they could save money. So I was very happy with the outcome from the meeting last night. That's it.
Thank you for that report, Mr. Penny. Are there any comments on that? Very well. Correspondence, infrastructure planning grant, water loss study. Does anyone want to speak to this?
I can briefly speak to it, Mayor. It's just for information and the positive grant application of $10,000. So it's for information, receiving information.
Very well. Any questions? Very well. Information package, April 29th, 2020, received for information. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by
second.
Councillor Penny, seconded by Councillor Dolan. All those in favor? We are adjourned. We'll see you
Thank you,
all
everybody.
shortly.
The next meeting is going to be Tuesday, right?
That's correct.
And is what part of the budget? Are we done or?
So the budget document is essentially done. The next steps in the budget document now would be, the budget process would be the adoption of the bylaw, which I believe we have scheduled for the May 12th meeting. The bylaw sets the, for setting the tax rates and everything.
Okay, so just to confirm then, there's nothing to prepare in terms of the budget for next Tuesday, right?
That's correct. The audit of financial statements is until May 12th, or is that next Tuesday? It's the 8th, right? Okay. Yeah, so nothing more for the budget.
Okay. All right, have a good weekend, everybody.